has paid that price already. You don't have to go through that stress. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Uchenna and I'm a Nigerian-based digital content creator, and on this channel I talk about everything books. Guys, I know that it's been a while over here, but I just want to tell you that you see balancing 9 to 5 and content creation shit that they tell you, oh, you know, the whole balance fine. I'm here to tell you that it is hard. Like, it is really, really hard, especially when you have like a full-time 9 to 5. You have other things by the side, and then you now also want to do content creation on top, and specifically YouTube that takes a lot of time for you to film, edit, and upload and everything. It's work and it's hard. So I've not been able to find the balance in terms of that, and also I've been having kind of inconsistency with lights and have to deal with noise, and those are like the factors that usually limits me. But I've been trying to show up on my Instagram account where I also share, you know, book recommendation, book reviews and whatnot. But in order not to waste time, in this particular video I'll be sharing with you my May wrap up. That's books I read in May. So I read a total of 16 books in May, and again it's actually surprising, but at the same time not surprising, because I have a full-time 9 to 5 and I was also interning. Yes, I did an internship program which ended in May, and it was interesting because it was in a publishing house. So I was able to juggle that and also find time to read. So more of the time I have, it's towards reading books, both physical books, ebooks and audiobooks. So in order not to waste more time, let's get into the books. So the first book I read in May is Audrey and Bash Are Just Friends by Tia Williams. You guys already know Tia Williams is the author of 7 Days in June, and that romance book is actually one of my favorite romance books. If you haven't read that, I highly recommend you to. So after that book, I was so excited knowing that, oh, she has another book coming out. I got the ARC copy and I was able to, you know, read the book, and it was quite interesting. The story follows the characters from 7 Days in June. This does not mean you can't read this one without reading 7 Days in June, but it just makes more sense. It will make more sense for you to actually read 7 Days in June first of all before you move into this. There are like characters from there, and then they like fully fleshed in this new book, which is Audrey and Bash Are Just Friends. It's about two teenagers. One happens to be an unprofessional therapist and the other one is everybody's crush. Now these two characters happen to meet around some circumstances, and gradually it developed, and then we get to see how these two characters' life, you know, intertwine at some point, how they explore their teenage age and whatnot. Now for me, this book was quite interesting because, you know, I'm always there for teenagers figuring things out, exploring life, and I actually like it because I liked the themes that were in this book. But for me, this book felt kind of underwhelming, and for that I rated it 3/5-star rating. That is to say, it was not a bad book, but that was just my take. I did enjoy it, but it's not like a memorable read for me. The second book I read is Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. By now you already know Kennedy Ryan is one of like the top black, when you talk about black female romance writers, she's one of them. And this book is the Skyland series, and we have the first book, Before I Let Go. The second book is This Could Be Ours, and then the third book is Can't Get Enough. Now the first book, which is Before I Let Go, I read that book and I rated it 4.5 stars. The second book, for some weird reasons, I don't know why, I haven't read the second book. The third book came out, and guys, I just could not wait. I got into the third book. Can't Get Enough is the title. It was such an interesting book and I liked it. Personally for me, I rated this book 3 stars because, again, it was underwhelming. I don't know what is it, but the new books that have been coming out recently have been underwhelming for me for some reason. I don't know. It was not a bad book, but at the same time, it was not memorable for me. The next book I read, which is the third book, is Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man. I don't know if I've talked about this on this channel, but anything JCQ Sutanto writes, I am reading. Whether good, whether bad, I am reading. That's just it. Like, there's no two ways about it. So this is like the book 2 of Vera Wrong series. The first book is titled Vera Wrong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. That's the first book, the book one. And then this is the book two, is Vera Wrong's Guide to Snooping on a Dead Man. And of course, from the title, this book takes us on the journey of an older character who happens to play a detective that no one hired. She decided to take it on herself, to become a detective, and we get to see how she tried to unravel the mystery behind a dead man, and if she was able to unravel that or not. You have to read the book to find out. That's actually like a tea in the book that I can't give out, but it's such an interesting book to see how this older character navigates life, navigate the people around her, and it was just interesting to read. Personally, I rated 3.25 over 5-star ratings, which is not a bad rating. I remember like the main character, and I just laughed because the woman, she's a lot, but I really enjoy when older characters are being portrayed in books. Like, they are so interesting in books for me than in real life. I'm sorry. Now, moving on, the next book I finished in May is Africa is Not a Country by Dipo Faloyin. So this is a non-fiction book, and this book basically is one of those books that I feel that's important to read, because the book talks about how Africa is not a country. You know how when the Western, when they are portraying Africa in the mainstream, they tend to portray only the downside, happening in Africa: poverty, insecurities. They don't highlight the glamorous part of Africa. Africa is diverse. We have different cultures, different languages, but they tend to make it look like, oh, Africa is just the same, it's just one. He talks about a lot in this book, and it's one of those books that I feel is an eye-opener that people should read. It's an important book that I feel like this book should be read in secondary schools. I'm not saying that the book actually explains perfectly, about Africa in general, but it's one of those books that the way it highlights the things happening, the way he added humor to his storytelling, it was interesting to read. Although my issue with this book was that the book, you could tell that, oh, this book is written by a diaspora, not someone that live in Nigeria, exactly in Nigeria. You could actually see from their writing style, you actually see how even when he grew up in Nigeria, he was living on some certain level. There's how the story is being told, you just know. And another issue I had was that the book didn't actually explore women experience in the pre-colonial era. It was more of this recent era that the book explored around women, and feminism and what they did, the femco and everything in between. So I wish the book also explored back then, because back then women also contributed to this nation. And in general, I rated it 4 over 5 stars. And the reason it's a 4-star is just because it's one of those books that's an eye-opener, like I said, and it's important for people to actually know about our history, about our culture, about where we were before, where we have been, and where we are going, and where we currently are. The next book I finished in the month of May is Outdrawn by Diana Gray. I just hope I pronounced that name well. It is a contemporary LGBTQ plus romance book. It's sci-fi, and it's basically a story about 2 girls, enemies to lovers story, and I did enjoy it. But for me, what I liked more was how the book explored the personal experience or the personal issues both characters are going through, and it felt relatable to me. And one thing again I like, for someone like me that like reading more of contemporary and literary fiction, I love this more because of that, the way it explores their issues and everything. I ended up rating it 3.5 over 5 star, which say it's an interesting book. It's a book that I would say, oh, check out and read, but it's not just a memorable book for me. The next book I read in the month of May is Babel by R.F. Kuang. You all know the one of the Purple War series. Babel was such an interesting book to read. It was a lot because there was a lot of history, a lot of learning that I did along the way, and it was so interesting, to be honest, to read this book. It's one of the books that will make you think and research, and I thought about books in translation, word or stories lost in between. There was just a lot happening. I liked it, I enjoyed it, but I don't know, there was just something about this book that was just missing. And then the ending, I actually didn't really like the ending of this book, and the character was just annoying too. I don't know, you don't have to be Jesus you don't have to be the savior that died for the world. Christ has paid that price already. You don't have to go through that stress. I rated it 3.5 over 5-star ratings, which is to say it's a nice book to read, but it's not like a memorable book for me. The next book I read is How I Won a Nobel Prize by Julius Taranto. It's a story about a graduate student who decides to follow her disgraced mentor. Her mentor has been involved in scandals previously, but then again, she's one of the scientists that want to save the planet, and it just explores, the story about her and with her husband and her experiences at where they went to stay. And it's such an interesting book. I did like it, but it's not a memorable book for me. But it's a book that I would recommend that you check out. Honestly, 2 over 5-star rating is still a very decent rating, so you should check out the book. The next book I read in the month of May is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. It's a story about a lady who left what she had going on in the country and then moved to another country to start like a kind of a new life. And then it takes us where she had issues thinking, oh, should she do this or not? There were decisions she has to take, and we get to see how that along the line she explored with community. She met a man, and they had experiences together. So it's one of those books that I did quite enjoy while reading it. I would say it's a good book. I rated it 3.25 over 5-star rating, which is a nice book, but it was just not memorable enough for me. The next book I have is Colored Television. This is one of those books where we have messy female characters. If you love books about messy female characters and you love literary fiction, this is one of those books that you should actually check out. So one of the situations where you get to see how characters or how people explore life, where they have plan A but things didn't go well, and then they try their plan B. It was a nice book. It was a nice read. I did like it. It was not a waste of time. I ended up rating it 3.25 over 5-star rating, which means it's a decent book. So it's a book that you can check out and see for yourself. It's a book I would say you should read, to be honest. I would just say you should read the book. Yes. The next book I finished is Days at the Morisaki Bookshop by Satoshi Yagizawa. I just hope I pronounced the name correctly. So this is one of those book in translation, book that was translated Asian literature, and I personally loved it. I loved this book. One of those contemporary fiction that tells you that, oh, life is not all about like the way you make it seem. Life is separate. People are going through things, and it's okay for you to take a step, relax, breathe, go back to the drawing board, rest along the line. It's a continuous race. That's just what life is. But it's a book that will make you, you can pause, you can think, you can reflect. And I did quite enjoy this a lot. I rated it 4 over 5-star ratings, which is to say I highly recommend. There's a book 2 for this. I haven't read the book 2 yet. The book 2 title is More Days at the Morisaki Bookshop. I've not read it. I'm still waiting for it on my library, for it to be available in the library, and then I'm going to read the book 2. I wasn't getting the book too, but my friend Amin, her page is Lip Gloss Mafia. She said, oh, I should know bother about, getting the book too. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to save my money because this costs 19,000 naira in Nigerian currency. And that's a lot of money. So I'm just going to save that money and not get the book too. And just, read the book too in my library. The next book I finished is No Perfect Love by Adesua Omen Nekedi. Well, this book came out this year. It's a romance, book, and it's quite interesting. It's one of those books that you have to think, and it's a book that I would also recommend you to body read because there's lots of drama going on in the book. And it's one of those books that the main character, the female character, she encountered a man from her past, and she has a man in her present life, and then she has to make decisions, and how the experiences of both men shaped her life. It's such an interesting book. It's such a book that you read and then you think. I think most times my issue was the male character. I was just so pissed at them. This happened, and this is one of those books that you would rethink. You would think of, oh, where will you stand? What will you do in this situation? Because it's such a sensitive situation, or let's say a sensitive topic, because it has to do with marriage, and that's why I said it's very sensitive. But then again, I really did not care. Mine was that I just had issues with the men that were in her life. It's a book that I would recommend you check out. I rated it 3.5 over 5-star rating, which means it's a good book that you should check out. The next book I finished is Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Martin. This is a book about a woman called Martha. She knows there's something wrong with her, but she doesn't know what it is. Her husband Patrick thinks she's fine. He says everyone has something. The thing just keep going. Martha told Patrick before they got married that she didn't want to have children. He said that he didn't mind either way because, you know, he loved her since they were 14. And the story progresses, and then you get to see how these characters explore life together, and her family too was involved. It's such an interesting book, and I liked the topic that we discussed in this book, or we liked the topic that we highlighted in this book. I rated it 3.5 over 5-star rating, so it's a book that I would recommend that you check out. It's a good book. It's not one of those books that will fall under my most memorable book for 2025. The next book I read in the month of May is People Like Her by Elrie Lord. A human who is an influencer, a mom-influencer, and her child, and the things she experiences, you know, exposing herself and her child to the internet. It's such an interesting book. And again, I like book that talks about, you know, the influencer side of life. It's such an interesting thing, at the same time such a scary thing, because there's a lot that makes you just think. Like, you sit down there, you think about kid influencers, you think about, oh, what if this person grows up to have resentment that, oh, you know, I'm all over the internet, I didn't want that. It's such a delicate matter that I always do recommend books like this for people to read, so that they tend to see both the good side and then the ugly side of the influencer life, because I know it tends to look like, oh, it's all glamorous, but behind the scene there's a lot. And then, you know, exposing your child, the dangers, what could happen and whatnot. So I rated this book 3.5 over 5-star rating. The next book I read is Iron Widow by Ziran J. I cannot pronounce this her surname. I cannot pronounce this her other name. Anyways, Iron Widow was such a mind-blowing book. If you love books about women being angry and taking the bull by the horn, fighting for what they want, seeking revenge with everything in them, this is the book for you. There were bisexual representation characters. There are a lot of graphic scenes in this book, so I highly recommend you check it out. I rated it 5 over 5-star rating. That was what I gave it. 5 over 5, nothing less. The book ate and left no crumbs. Next, the book I read is Julie Chan is Dead by Lian Zhang. This book, it came out this year, and it's one of those books that I personally have been anticipating about this book, because it's a book about, you know, the influencer life. And any book that talks about, you know, the influencer life and whatnot, I tend to gravitate towards those kind of books, because I don't know if I'll say I'm an influencer, but, you know, I'm someone on the internet, and being a content creator and being an influencer, they're not exactly the same thing, but like they're, you know, in line. I read this book and it was interesting, but at some point the book became weird. And I'm like, oh my god, there's a lot of mental stress that comes with being an influencer. I rated it 3.5 over 5-star ratings. It's just because the book went weird at some point, and I'm like, what is going on here? Now, the next book I read is Content Warning, Everything by Akweke Emisi. This is a poetry book. I am on the quest of reading all books written by Akweke Emisi. I've read all the published work already, so I had to get on my Zoom and also read this. And this is a poetry collection that explore like a young deity, you know, I'm Mary Magdalene, I'm Mary and God. So it's, of course, it's Akweke. They write so differently, and it's always interesting to actually see their writing. You just tend to be in awe of them. So it's a very short book that you could easily read. I would recommend, if you love poetry, you can actually check this out. And guys, we've come to the end. These are like the 16 books I read in the month of May. Now, there's a book I'm reading. The Old Drift. I'm still in, this is where I am, and this is like page 318. This is such a lengthy book to read, and so far it's a multi-generational book. This has been an interesting read, and I wasn't able to finish this. I just had to pause it, and then I left it where it is. So going through my statistics, I have 3 books that I rated 3 stars. I have 3 books that I rated 3.25 stars. I have 6 books that I rated 3.5 star. Then I have 1 book that I rated 3.75 stars. I have another book, I have 2 books that I rated 4 stars, and I have 1 book that I rated 5 stars. Please do give this video a thumbs up, and also do subscribe if you are yet to subscribe to the channel. It will go a long way for me to, like, these are things that will motivate me to actually keep on creating content. So please do that. And also, if there are any topic, or if there are any book you want me to actually make content on, a review or book recommendation that you want, please do let me know in the comment section of this post, and I would see you in my next video.